today's International Women's Day. And it will be a day where many people will pass comment about the society in which we live and the attitudes in the society in which we live. And people are entitled to, especially on this day, to make those observations. And that's all fine. But I just wonder, as a people, as a global society, are we fair income? Because there are plenty of examples in other countries around the world where it would appear to me we're particularly not fair income. This idea of equality and respect amongst the genders, etc. Now, I don't know where to begin. I'll begin here. And this is a story about an Indian housewife, as they describe her, jailed in the United Arab Emirates. They say guilt by association is a crime. Evidence of wrongdoing is often less important than simply being available to prosecute. Such is the case for 57-year-old Indian national Mary Harold D'Souza, a middle-aged housewife in detention since January 2018. That's 2 years for crimes about which she had no knowledge. The case is somewhat complicated. Questionable middlemen made off with millions, left the business insolvent, and Mary D'Souza criminally liable for a bounced company cheque she never wrote. Her name appears as a partner of this business, and though she held no position at the company, had no involvement in its activities, in the United Arab Emirates, she can be held accountable for the actions of anyone who worked there. Woman, 2 years behind bars, in detention, had little or nothing to do with it. And then we go back to Princess Latifa. And I think a really important ruling by Sir Andrew Macfarlane in a British court in the last week. And this case was spoken about on this show once or twice before, but I thought today, given the day it is, and given the idea that we are fair income to the importance of respect for individuals, and particularly women, all around the world, not just in your own backyard, we should talk more about it. I want to have a chat here to Radha Stirling, who's the CEO of Detained in Dubai. Now, do yourself a favour after we chat. Go and Google that and read the story, because it is unbelievable. As I said, Radha Stirling is the CEO of Detained in Dubai and joins me on the line. Radha, thank you for your time.
Thank you, and you highlighted some very interesting points. Mary is a case I've been working on now for a short while, and it's not uncommon for people like her to be held back in the country that have had absolutely nothing to do with a crime, but they hold them as ransom to try and get other people to perhaps bail her out, almost as a punishment to those who were involved.
Yeah.
The case of Latifa, obviously, and this ruling in the High Court of England has had profound effects on the country, and we're going to see a lot of change coming up. But what I've done over the past 12 years, we've seen quite a number of cases in Australia of women who have been jailed for having sex outside marriage after they've reported rape. And we can certainly see that in the UAE, women are treated completely differently to men. That's not to say that men don't get jailed as well, but certainly there is a prejudice against women.
Yeah, and the point the point there is that we hear people say this, but how true is it, Radha? The standards you walk by are the standards you accept. Now, surely by the year 2020, we've come to a point where good, decent people on planet Earth insist that that fairness, that discrimination is a thing of the past, that fairness is what occupies every avenue of every part of every life on the planet. Surely we got to that point by the year 2020, you'd like to think.
You'd like to think, but we're still seeing, in a country that really does promote itself as being quite modern and pro-women's rights, pro-equality, what we do see is that nothing has really changed, that that's all marketing. We still see people, subject to male guardianship laws in Dubai, and Dubai does look like it's completely modern, and it's marketed that way, but it's not. I mean, we've had Ivanka Trump go over recently, and during her visit there, women's rights were heavily promoted. But on the ground level, it's absolutely not like that, whether it's foreigners or whether it's local Emirati women who have had to flee oppression, flee abuse, and they're not supported by the legislative system.
Let's just flesh out some detail here. People that aren't aware of the case of Princess Latifa and what led to the High Court dealing with this matter this week. Can you just give us some background?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Latifa, I was in direct contact with during her escape. She was already on the yacht Nostromo when she pleaded to me to assist her and highlight her case to the media. She was extremely worried that she would be renditioned back to Dubai. She said that her father would go to any extent to bring her back, and he certainly did that. He sent 5 warships, 2 planes, 2 helicopters to go and take her from international waters and bring her against her will back to the UAE, along with all of the crew on board. Now, it was only due to the media campaign that we launched, and it was very difficult at the time too, because, you know, it's a story of a princess escaping with a French spy, and, you know, there's this massive military orchestration to bring them back. Media was really apprehensive to report it. But anyway, we persevered, and that got out there. We contacted the United Nations, made submissions to them, and have been advocating for her release ever since. Now, no communication has been made by her. And then her abduction brought up the other allegation, which was that Sheikha Shamsa, her sister, 20 years ago, was also abducted from the streets of England. Now, those 2 cases came to light recently when Princess Haya, who's Sheikh Mohammed's wife, essentially left him, fleeing for her life, and with that of her children. So there was a custody case that ensued in the UK, and he wanted to take the children back to Dubai, so obviously that raised the question of how does he treat his other children, and they're adults. We're talking, 34-year-old women who have been completely controlled with no freedom. With a video that was released by myself that talked about, Sheikha Latifa herself was talking about her own torture and abuse by her father, the ruler of Dubai. Now, all of that was, let's say, hearsay. It was undetermined. There were rumours being circulated by the Dubai authorities that this isn't the case, that she has mental problems, that she was kidnapped by the people who were helping her escape. But now, finally, we have an English court judgment that's heard evidence about these 2 kidnappings and determined that Sheikh Mohammed, who is an extremely prominent person, warranting respect, who's a regular in UK society, especially with his racing. So we have a UK judge ruling that he absolutely kidnapped those 2 children, that he's forcing them to be held in Dubai in captivity against their will, and that he has violated international law, British criminal law, and also maritime law, human rights. So that has obviously had the effect that the UAE is going to have to consider whether he should remain in power at this point, and he's certainly going to consider whether he ever wants to return to the United Kingdom, where criminal charges might actually be filed against him. So at this point, he's in Dubai, and I'm sure we're going to hear some decisions soon. But I think that the bravery of Sheikha Latifa in escaping, and this is her 2nd or 3rd escape attempt, in fact, and she did escape. She made it to international waters. She was off the coast of India, and he decided to violate international law to bring her back. Obviously a crime. And she was on a US-flagged yacht as well, and should have had the protection of the United States.
Gosh.
So that sort of criminality is going to have drastic effects.
Yeah.
I think British tourists in particular are not going to be safe at the moment, particularly potentially targeted while they're in prison.
Wow.
But I think we're going to see Abu Dhabi, which is actually the powerhouse of the UAE, wondering whether his son, Sheikh Hamdan, should actually take power from him. I think the effects of his reputation just completely shattered is going to affect the country economically.
Yeah. Let's, for a moment, talk about Princess Haya, who is in the United Kingdom and has been there for some time. Is she divorced from Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum?
Yes, and she claimed in her court case that he actually divorced her without even informing her.
Wow.
Yeah. Which kind of shows the difference in culture, and it also shows, there was a lot in that judgment. It's extensive, it's available online, and it talks about the sort of abuse that she witnessed herself, of her children, of, the intimidation campaign that he launched against her.
Can she move around in Britain okay? Radha, is she able to go out? I have seen photos of her, but is she able to go out in public and move around without concern?
Well, she hasn't been, no, because obviously we've seen that Sheikh Mohammed will go to any extent. He threatened her. He told her that he would bring the children back and that he can get her anywhere, which is exactly what he said to all of the people involved in the Latifa escape. So she was very concerned for her life. She was very concerned that the children would be abducted like his other children were, and sought security to be added to her by the UK government. And at this time, given the UK ruling, I think that she should feel quite safe that the UK is going to afford her that protection. Yeah. But obviously she would be very careful.
Yeah. What's life like for her daughters in Dubai? Do we know?
Yes. I've been in touch with some of them, and they're under heavy control. They have curfews. They are not able to make decisions about their own life. They're not allowed to have relationships or boyfriends, even when they're, fully grown adult 30-something-year-old women. So everything is decided for them and by other people. They absolutely have no freedom whatsoever, which is completely contrasting to the sons of rulers in the UAE who have ultimate freedom. They party in Vegas and can do pretty much whatever they want. Yeah. So the girls are treated like chattels.
Do you think, as a result of this High Court ruling, it obviously does get attention, but do you actually think the international community might just have a thing or two to say here and, in fact, put some pressure on the rulers of the UAE?
Well, yes, I believe that it is going to have a drastic impact. I think that celebrities who promote Dubai and who have been, we've seen Nicole Kidman with the airline, we've seen Gwyneth Paltrow, we've seen even Ricky Martin singing in Dubai when homosexuality is punishable by death, actually. So I think we're going to see that this is going to highlight the fact that anyone who's supporting Dubai is going to be seen as anti-women and supporting discrimination, supporting a tyrannical ruler who has tortured his daughters.
Can you tell our listeners how they can find out more about the plight of these women? The website, probably the best place to send them.
Yes, the children obviously have been making attempts to pass messages on, and Latifa met up with Princess Haya before her departure and conveyed information to her. So now with Princess Haya finally able to talk publicly about her issues and have her judgment publicised, that's going to put a lot of pressure, not just on Sheikh Mohammed, but on the whole UAE to force him to allow them their freedom. Yeah. And especially if he's forced to resign under these circumstances, hopefully the brother of Latifa will actually allow her freedom.
Yeah, let's put pressure on them. It's detainedindubai.org. Have I got that right?
That's right, yes.
Beautiful. All right, Radha, good on you. 100 out of 10 for the work you're doing and raising this issue. And sometimes it's an issue that doesn't get the airing it should in societies like ours. Again, we also always say, the standards you walk by, the standards you accept. Now, each country has rule of law, but isn't there a minimum standard of decency that we should be putting pressure on different regimes to, at least entertain? Or do we just walk by and go, well, that's what happens there? It's not good enough. Again, Radha, thank you so much. Radha Stirling, the CEO of Detained in Dubai, detainedindubai.org.